often put it this way. In order for us to be in the state that we are in today as people, we have to be out of our minds. We literally have to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be crazy. It is necessary for us to be backwards. It is necessary for us to be maladjusted. It is necessary for us to be disunited. It is necessary for us to be self-hating. It is necessary for us to be filled with an inferiority complex. In a world where the European is essentially about 10% of the world's population, if that 10% is to continue to rule over the other 90%, it must keep that 90% out of its mind. It must keep that 90% in a state of deception. It must keep...
Thank you for tapping in again. This is Brian HRap Williams. This is End of the Bench Media, and this is another episode, I think it's 66 of A Few Minutes with HRap. Basically, I'm here to give you my perspective and warn you, in my opinion, warn you of the perils of being an American citizen today and listening to the foolishness so we can get around this and recreate our community and our own image. Basically, we want to put ourselves in a situation to whereas we don't have to adhere to the people, to the rules that the people who are against us have set, their standards that they've set, and we seem to buy into them. Basically, what I'm going to do is talk about the protection of our brand. We don't have to deal with other people unless they are in line with us and in line with how we feel and our views, one way or another. You don't have to deal with people just because they have what you perceive as an advantage or they have this perceived power over us. We don't have to do those things. And when you adhere to those things, you only give them the power that they request. We are in tumultuous times. So what we're going to do is talk about defending our community in a physical, mental, and a spiritual realm. That way, and what I mean by spiritual, it is the energy that permeates through our community so we can do away with the people who have nothing to do with positivity in our lives, in our community. Thank you again. As I do every day, I need you to, if you're watching this from the link and I'm not doing this live, I want you to go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. That's my homepage. It will show you the history video that I will show you, and it will give you this entire episode in its entirety. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tap in. And to the new subscribers, thank you. Every day I get 2 or 3 new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is greatly appreciated. Please continue to do so. Please continue to like the videos. Please continue to comment. Thank you. And as I say thank you, thank you to Dolores and John. Those are my parents. Without Dolores and John, there is no Brian HRap Williams, HRap Williams. And if that wasn't me, you would be doing something else with your valuable time. Thank you. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because we're in a precarious time right now. People are welcoming fascism, and it's due to a lot of ignorance. We have gotten away from study. We've gotten away from doing things, finding out things on our own. And what we've adapted ourselves to is the concept of, you know what they say, or I heard, or it's never from what I understand. Because when you say from what I understand, traditionally, you've looked into it and you have an understanding of what you're talking about and you're conveying what you've looked into. We don't do that anymore. What we do is respond to what is put on the television. When you put something on the television, it permeates through the community, and now we're distracted by things that have been sent by people who mean us no good. And what I mean by that is this: people are just trying to rewrite history. People are doing away with certain aspects of history, and instead of you paying attention and understand what's going on, what they do is hoodwink you into believing what they want you to believe. And now you perceive, because this is a trusted website, a trusted network, or a perceived trusted network or perceived trusted website, that's the truth. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. The truth does not have to be explained, and there isn't a whole bunch of angles in which the truth comes at you. The truth is the truth. That's it. That's all. We have people who pretend to do their jobs, but they're lying. When you watch the Senate hearings in regards to this infiltration or this violation of the national defense policy, you have people refusing to answer questions. 99 times out of 100, when you plead the fifth, it's because you're guilty if you open your mouth. And those kinds of things, we're not paying attention to that. We're not paying attention to the fact that the Secretary of Defense has violated all kind of protocol, and him and his team are refusing to answer those questions. And when they do answer the questions, it's in a confined, safe place, so they can answer them the way they want to answer them, versus being answering the questions that are being asked of them in front of the world. And what we do is have half truths. And from my experience, a half truth is an entire lie. 99 times out of 100, if you're only giving me half the story, that means the other half will damn you and condemn you and put you in a bad light. Because again, when you're dealing with the truth don't care who tell it. The truth doesn't need you to protect it. The truth is the truth. And these things put us at odds against each other. These things actually do us a favor, because what they do, in my personal opinion, they put us in a position to whereas we will be able to identify our true and only enemies. And when you identify your true and only enemies, at that point, you can be at your best position to defend your community. People are immediately trying to defend what they're saying. They're immediately trying to put themselves in a better light. And whether it be the traditional media, sports media, entertainment media, these people are not painting us in great lights. You hear things about athletes, about baby mama drama and things of that nature. All I want to ask you is this: if you're an entertainment reporter, why are we not talking about movies? Why are we not talking about plays? Why are we not talking about television shows and in the up and coming instances? Now, in the event that you put your name on the police blotter, that's fair game. But why are we speaking of these young men and young women's personal lives, whether they have alternative lifestyles, or how many women are in their lives, or who they want to? That has nothing to do with you. Understand the fact that a few weeks ago, we were talking about this young man, Anthony Edwards, and his lack of contact with this child of his. That has nothing to do with his basketball game. That has nothing to do with the NBA. That has nothing to do with anything he's doing outside of what we need to be paying attention. But it does create a narrative for Black men and their children. It perpetuates a lie and a stereotype that we are not engaged in our children's lives. But you've never heard the fact that Larry Bird has an adult daughter who's about 40-something years old right now, and he has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with her, even though he is married and he has a separate family from the one he created with that young lady's mother. We don't hear about that. We don't hear about other people in that business, but our business seems to be basically keeping it real, and we're just telling the truth. Well, if we're going to just tell the truth, we need to tell the truth about everybody. Shadur Sanders is cocky. Well, you know what? Last time I heard, you have to be cocky to be a leader. You are in a room full of your peers, and they are looking to you for leadership, because the quarterback is the face of the organization. The quarterback is the face of the franchise. He's the most important guy. So why wouldn't he have confidence? See, these are the kinds of things that they're tearing us down. They're using us to tear each other down. The reason I did this show is because yesterday, one LeBron James went on Pat McAfee's show, because Stephen A. Smith has been, as he stated, been on a world tour talking about an interaction with him. All he had to do, if you were truly about keeping it real or telling the truth, Mr. Smith, all you had to do was say, hey, me and LeBron, we did have a disagreement. I'm going to keep that to myself, and we're going to keep it moving. But what you waited to do was to see the reaction of the general public and the masses. It happened at night. You came on 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you created this fictitious, defenseless, helpless elk personality and waited on the public to respond. They responded the way you wanted to, and then you went on Fox News, you went on Gilbert Arenas' show, and you went around and you have been lambasting LeBron for the last 22 years, but you've really been laying it on thick lately. Sir, you are a disgrace to the race. And I mean that. Stephen A. Smith, you are disgrace. You are a disgrace to the race because you've gone out of your way to ensure that this young man and his son has been painted in a horrible light. Look, nobody is telling you not to critique this. Nobody's, if you're going to critique his son or his game, that's what your job is. But when you start talking about his home life and when you start talking about the raising of his children, that's when you have a problem. And we have people in our community who are foolish enough. They're damn foolish enough to go along with the program. Well, he's a pro athlete. No, exactly. Excuse me. Exactly. He is a pro athlete. What happens off the 94 by 94 feet by 54 feet court has nothing to do with you. If Bronny James is playing like a below NBA talent, then at that point you discuss that. You don't talk about his parenting. And you've had a nation of people, a half of a nation of people going along with you to jump on your bandwagon, but you have no idea about what's going on in the community. You don't. You've separated yourself for the longest time. You have literally gone on the Karen Hunter show and told her, a person who is a purveyor of truth, a purveyor of facts, she's addicted to reality. How in the entire hell is being addicted to reality a negative connotation? But you presented it to her as like, see, that's your problem. You're addicted to reality. So she's addicted to the truth. And she doesn't want to play these games that you play. And now you are, since this young man, LeBron James, has made a complete ass of you, he punked you out in real time. And then you got people on your side. And then he went on your number one competitor on your network where you're the face and did an interview and sat there and hung out with the man for an hour, something he's never done in his entire career. And he drew eyes away from you and brought him. So today you were in your feelings. So these are the people, these are the kinds of people that we need to be aware of. These are the kinds of people that are putting our community in jeopardy. These are the kind of people who present things the way they are not in hopes to, because we live in a time in which chaos sells. We are attention whores. We are currency. I mean, attention is the new currency. Clicks, likes, clickbait. When we're talking about people's personal lives, that's what's putting $100 million in Mr. Smith's pocket. Is it worth it though? Is $100 million worth your soul? I don't think so. But what I'm going to do right now is show you a video of what happens when you tell the truth in the United States of America. This is one of our greatest ancestors. He lost his life defending us and sticking up for us. I want you to listen to this so you can understand exactly where I'm coming from. This is Brother Malik El Hash Bass, commonly known as Malcolm X. I'll be back shortly. This is One Mic History, and you already know, go to One Mic History and subscribe, and go to my website and watch this in its entirety. Both of us get credit, and I'll be back shortly.
Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little, was a Muslim minister and activist and a prominent figure in the civil rights movement. Today, we're going to talk about how his life and a string of tragedies, discrimination, and obstacles ultimately contributed into the powerful orator and the activist that he turned out to be. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at OneMicHistory.com. If you like to support the channel, you can do so on my Buy Me Coffee Patreon page in the description below. Give us 5 stars on our podcast. But without further ado, let's get started. Being the fourth of 8 children, Malcolm Little was born into a highly political family. His parents, Earl and Louise Little, were very supportive members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, led by Black nationalist leader Marcus Garvey. Earl was an outspoken advocate of civil rights, and often this led to white supremacist groups such as the Ku Klux Klan subjugating Little's family to continuous harassment, which influenced Malcolm's early views on racial equality. In 1926, Earl Lewis' Universal Negro Improvement Association activities were said to be spreading trouble. When Malcolm was only 4, the family was driven out of Omaha, Nebraska by violent threats from white supremacist groups. They eventually settled in Lansing, Michigan. Unfortunately, the racism that they faced in Lansing was even more intense. The family was frequently harassed by a group called the Black Legion, which was another white supremacist group that culminated in their house being set on fire. But this was simply the beginning other Little's family struggles. In 1931, Earl Little was found dead, allegedly after being run over by a streetcar, which was widely suspected to be another act of white supremacist violence. Malcolm's mother, Louise, believed that Earl had been murdered by the Black Legion, and subsequent grief and financial difficulties led Malcolm's mother to be committed to the Kalamazoo State Mental Institution in 1937, forcing his siblings to be separated and sent to various foster homes. In 1938, Malcolm was expelled from West Junior High School and sent to a detention home in Mason, Michigan. He states that the white couple that ran the institution
This
treated
is
him
what I'm
fairly,
talking
but he
about,
felt
ladies and
more
gentlemen.
like a pet than a human being. Later, despite being one of the few Black students at Mason High School, Malcolm would excel academically. He was well liked by his classmates, and they even elected him class president. However, in 1939, he had a turning point when his English teacher discouraged his aspirations of becoming a lawyer, stating that it was not a realistic goal for a nigga. Frustrated by this dismissal, Malcolm dropped out of high school at 15. Later, he would recall feeling that the white world.
And these are the things that I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're subjecting ourselves to when we put ourselves in situations to whereas it's not advantageous to us, and we allow other people to dictate how we view, see, and interact with each other. These are the things that's happening. When you have a guy on a television pretending to be a victim after saying it is his job to be critical. So, okay, if it's your job to be critical, when I am critical in turn, what I need you to do is realize that that's part of my job as well. My job is to do my best to represent what I'm doing. But talk upon him, and he came money past somebody. See, because you have a position at ESPN, they have billions of dollars behind them, and you can wag your finger and poke any young NBA player that you want. But when it comes down to like LeBron James, you have to captain and the fight back to you directly. You don't have to fight with ESPN because ESPN is not a fight with LeBron James. It helps bring out to that network and watching their basketball programs on ESPN and ABC. And now it's just you and him. And now this is where the problem lies, because then you start gathering people. Now this leads me to the bigger problem. We are, as I stated at the top of the program, if you allow these entities to change your view and direct how you see things, you'll be sitting around defending fascism. You'll be sitting around defending segregation. You'll be sitting around defending oppression and not even know about it because you're not doing the research to understand what you're being subjected to. You have people saying, hey, man, I'm subjected to this and I'm subjected to that. And this is the problem, and see, the righteous way to do things. And you're following a code of ethics that are created by hate mongers, discriminatory people, and fools. And I did say that properly, fools. And if you do that, then you in turn are a fool because you align yourself with a fool. You are the product of your environment. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is we have people on all levels of the news attacking us when we disagree. You have law firms, some of the most powerful law firms in the history of the world, law firms who defended people like Rosa Parks and Malcolm X and Dr. King and other people. And now they're saying, hey, we don't want to be targeted by the president, so we will give you $40 million in free law representation. So you used to work with civil rights and now you're working with fascism because you don't want to lose your security clearance and you don't want this dictatorial regime to attack you. These are problems, ladies and gentlemen. One of the people who they're attacking now is Jasmine Crockett because she's loud, she's boisterous, she's identifying the problems, and she's drawing eyes and she's galvanizing our community. And then you have people that's willing to move in one direction. Malcolm X told you more than 60 years ago, we have the most powerful voting bloc in the United States of America. Because if we get laser focused and move in one direction, we can change the tide of power in this country. And when you have people like Jasmine Crockett, what they do is lie on her. And you don't have to like her. You don't have to like the Democrats. But you know what? She's a black woman. And if you're a black man, black woman, a black young adult of any gender or any classification, you need to be working on defending her, simply because if you allow them to attack her, you're next. Jasmine Crockett has been lied on. She used the term, and I'm not going to repeat, but I've heard the term used, and I didn't know if it was a flattering term or not. But this nickname has been around, and they tried to excoriate her for that. She's part of an international coalition to get rid of people like Elon Musk, and they're saying remove him. He needs to be gone. You had someone come on Fox News and say that Jasmine Crockett is threatening this man's life. People understand what they're doing. When you take what she says out of context and flip the meaning of what she says, what you're doing is like you saw with the hate group that attacked Malcolm X's dad and his family, and the people like the Ku Klux Klan and the Oath Keepers and the originators and those people. That means send your vicious hitman out to get rid of her, silence her, so she won't derail our program. That's what they're doing. And if they deny that that's what they're doing, then don't misconstrue what she's doing and what she's saying. Don't say that she put a hit out on this man by her birthday. She said she wanted him to be gone by her birthday, meaning out of the public eye and back in the private sector where he belongs. These are the things that we need to be worried about, because if they can do it to a representative and understand, whether you're a mayor, a governor, a representative, or senator, or any elected civil servant in the United States of America, black women get more threats than anybody in the business. So if they're getting more threats, guess what that means? If you kill black women, you can't make more black children. You can't make more black children, then we have a problem. Now, I know somebody sitting around going, what about interracial children? But I'm not talking about that. And if you don't understand what I mean, please just hit the X and I'll see you at another time. Thank you. But understand, if you're attacking these black women for doing everything they can to make life in America better for you and I have a problem with you. And if something happens to this young lady, that means your wife, your sister, your aunt, your friend, your neighbor's wife, or what have you, niece, nephew, or cousin, they're in jeopardy also. Because that means, just like with Earl Little, the father of El Haj Malik El Shabazz, formerly known as Malcolm X, just like his father was killed, that means these things are on the horizon again. And don't think they're far away. Did they not just find two twins in the mountains of Georgia unalive for no reason at all? How many? And Ahmaud Arbery, Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, Eric Gardner, and the list is endless. Philando Castile, Mike Brown. These things these lynchings have been going on for a long time. The dictionary definition of lynching is 3 or more people attacking someone without merit. But guess what? If death is the ultimate ending, then guess what? That is a lynching. If it's a death for no reason at all, understand these things are happening. Young black children are coming up missing, and they don't even get Amber Alerts. That's why they have Ebony Alerts. And when it is an HBO documentary about young black kids going missing, and they just say they're runaways. Don't think these people are runaways. You understand what we're in the midst of. And if we're not prepared to understand what's going on, we will continue to suffer the consequences of their actions. We don't need to do this. This is why I'm making this show about protection. Because if you're not willing to protect your community, if you're not willing to protect your family, if you're not ready to protect your life, then you have a problem. And you know what we've been trained to do is, if you don't like LeBron James, or if you don't like Stephen A. Smith, I can't like you because you don't like them. No. This is mindless fodder. What I'm talking about is actual entities of threat. When you have the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the skinheads and all these other hate groups and these pockets of hate cells of our community, then and only then you need to be worried. Because I told you months ago, they're not trying to take you back to the 1960s. They're trying to take you back to the 1860s. And when if they were able to do those things, then you, my friend, are under attack. Your life is in danger. And it's in danger right now, whether you want to admit it or not. How safe do you feel driving from Chicago to somewhere in Mississippi, somewhere in Alabama, somewhere in Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky, North Carolina, so forth and so on? You shouldn't feel too safe because you see that random acts of violence, these are not random acts of violence. These are people who are following their commander-in-chief that sits in the White House and being controlled by a billionaire, because he continues to say dog whistle things. And then you have people in our community foolish enough to say, well, I didn't really see him say nothing direct. That's because they have no concept of study. They have no concept of the English language. And they have no concept of communication. It's a way to say things without saying them. What we have to do is come together and get ready to defend ourselves against these hate mongers. We can no longer allow people to threaten us. Just like on the video yesterday, it showed you a person running for governor said if a black person votes, that'll be his last thing doing. He never said we're going to kill him. They said he'll never vote again. He didn't say kill him, but the end result was that man was unalived. So what we have to do is understand physical protection. That means we need to, as the late great ancestor Malcolm X said, we need to start organizing gun clubs. We need to introduce our children to weapons and stop making a gun a threat. A gun is a tool. Self-defense is a tool. Instead of always enrolling our children in basketball, baseball, football, why don't we start enrolling our kids in self-defense? Because it teaches emotional intelligence and teaches you patience. It teaches you how to separate yourself from the situation for self-defense purposes. It is a mindset. It is a structure. And at that point, they also talk about academic excellence when you're in a martial arts context. So when my son was in martial arts class, he couldn't stay in the class unless he kept his grades up to par. These are the things that we need to be instilling. And then you start talking about other means of self-defense with physical activities, projectiles and things of that nature. Understand what we have to do. Academics is another way to defend yourself, because when you know better, you do better. When you know more, you empower yourself with that information. And as long as you empower yourself with information about things that are going on in the country, you can defend yourself. But if things come from nowhere and you continue to listen to what you heard and what they said, and those things are erroneous and flat out lies, and you suffer the consequences. So if we compare ourselves in an academic sense, we compare ourselves in a physical sense, and then if we prepare ourselves by protecting our energy by turning off the Kendrick Perkinses, turning off Jason Whitlock, turning off the Stephen A. Smith, and turning off the Candace Owens of the world, and people who are aligned with those white nationalists, we don't have to deal with those clowns, because we understand that they're out there, and no matter what's going to happen, they're going to go the other direction. When you have bozos like Jason Whitlock attacking 21 to 23-year-old young ladies about their style choices, and they've done nothing wrong. Angel Reese, nothing wrong, but he attacks her on a regular basis. Serena Williams, he attacks her on a regular basis. What we do is go to his website, yell and scream at him via the comment section, and then it draws him to someone's timeline, and then they click on it, and then he continues to get paid. If we walk away from them, that's self-defense in itself. And then when you see people like Owen, once she loses favor with the white nationalists, she must regain favor by kowtowing to us, getting our attention, and then she's useful again. The last person who was doing that was Stacey Dash. We can no longer fall for these tricks. One of the biggest upsetting things, one of the things that upset me the most was in the last 48 hours, our brother LeBron James did something strategic. He was having a verbal jab, verbal joust, if you would, with Stephen A. Smith. And he ultimately won because he went to his number one competitor and drew eyes away from Smith and drew them to him. His number one competitor on his network, as I spoke about this at the top of the show. He couldn't win that fight. So what he does have on his side is we live in a world of ignorance. LeBron James engaged in hyperbole by saying Giannis Antetokounmpo will score 200 points against the guys back in the day. People paid no attention to every other thing he said. They focused on one thing because we love controversy, chaos, and mayhem. We don't have to pay attention to those stupid things because what you understand what he was saying, the entire point is just like anything else. If I take a portion of the truth and I give it to the public, that's an entire lie. The statement was, how could you possibly say the guys today couldn't play in any other era? He gave the guys in other eras props, and he did throw a little hot sauce on the Giannis Antetokounmpo thing, but understand what he was saying versus what was actually said. Like I said earlier in this episode, dog whistling. He did that for shock value, but we've lost the ability to identify shock value and actual statements. But what Stephen A. Smith did is recruit people because he started talking about if he would have hit me. LeBron James had said nothing about hitting him. He said, I'm gonna protect my family at all costs. And if we're silly enough to believe that us other people like it's been people on the sports report on ESPN because their father was on ESPN. Dick Schaff's son, Jeremy Schaff, is on ESPN. You think it's because he got A's in his class? You really believe that? Kendrick Perkins is on ESPN. You think it's because he was the #1 guy in the broadcasting class? Are you telling me that there's nobody who went to broadcasting school who's a actual media personality couldn't do Kendrick Perkins' job? No, he got that job because he was an NBA player, just like LeBron James' son got that job because he was an NBA player. But how many people know that LeBron James Jr. has outscored 29 of the 60 people that was drafted before him? So that actually reshuffles the deck. Maybe he should have been the 28th pick in the draft instead of being the 55th pick. But we won't allow that. You know, Joe Buck and Jack Buck, Harry Carey's son and his grandson are broadcasting. Nobody speaks about that. But when we do it to ourselves, we have a nation of people from our community saying he's wrong, calling foul. What kind of asinine Rashad McCann statement is that? We can no longer live in those dark ages of not celebrating who we are. Do you not believe Clive Davis' son is an attorney, is a entertainment lawyer? How did he get his clients? There's chapter, book, and verse. You can look through the behind the scene periods. Do you not believe Harvey Weinstein has relatives that were in this? Do you not believe Steven Spielberg has sons that are doing this? It's a million and one. How is it that you celebrate Denzel Washington for John David and his son and his daughter? You celebrate Eddie Murphy and his daughters for being in entertainment. Keenan Ivory Wayans walks on water in our community because he put his entire family on, but LeBron James does the same thing. And we have been trained to hate him. These are the things that are going to destroy our community because you have people like Stephen A. Smith sitting there like a cowardly little boy as he went and got his big brother Kendrick Perkins to down LeBron James. LeBron James openly said, criticize my game, criticize my abilities, but don't criticize my family. And if you have a problem with that, then maybe you have a problem inside of yourself. Because if you think it's okay for a sports reporter or any other reporter to go inside someone's house who has never been on a police blotter, has never had any issues documented in his home, and then talk about the way he's rearing his child and the opportunities that a billionaire gives his children, you are crazy. Because if that's the case, we should have been destroying Jerry Buss, the late great Jerry Buss, for putting Jim Buss in play and now Jenny Buss. We need to be destroying Mickey Arison for having his son as a vice president of the Miami Heat. We should be destroying the people who own the Knicks because Jim Dolan owns the New York Knicks right now. But what not? What we do is wait till somebody black comes, uplift this, the whole, and talk about fair treatment and these standards that are fictitious, and we go along with that narrative. We have to stop doing that, please. We have to, because, hey, as they say, we all we got. With that being said, thank you. I'm tapping in for Black Friday tomorrow. It's always good. Hit that like, hit that share. Go to www.theendofthebench.com and help me, help us be uplifted, up, empowered, and engaged. Thank you for doing this as usual. This is Brian HRap Williams. I am about to take off, and this is the end of the program. Go to www.intervention.com, like, subscribe, tell a friend, share, tell a friend or tell a friend. 2 fingers, 1 word.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why